In an ideal world, wouldn't it be great if you could save money and prepare for retirement without any risks or threats? Unfortunately, risk is a natural part of any financial strategy. There are a wide range of risks that could potentially derail your plan, like in medical emergencies, disability, job loss, and more, all with the potential to cut into your savings and limit your ability to retire comfortably or financially secure. Your savings and investments also face risk in what is referred to as market risk. Volatility is a component in nearly every financial market. Assets rise in value, but as you have likely seen in your lifetime, they can also fall. Depending on how you're invested and how your money is allocated, those declines could be heavy and potentially put your investments at risk. Risk and return also tend to go hand in hand. Many of the investments that have the highest long-term historical returns typically also have higher levels of volatility. Assets that tend to have little risk exposure also may have limited return potential over time. So, how do you grow your assets without taking on too much risk exposure? One effective strategy is to align your investment allocation with your risk tolerance. Your risk tolerance is your own personal threshold for downside market movement when it comes to your money. As you can imagine, everyone's risk tolerance is different, and your risk tolerance should be based on your specific needs, goals, and time horizons, as well as other factors. Is your allocation aligned with your risk tolerance? Do you know your risk tolerance level? If not, now may be the perfect time to review your plan. Here are a few factors that I think that you should consider as you get started. First, let's look at your goals. Any risk tolerance analysis should start with a review of your goals. Why are you saving money? What are you trying to accomplish? What is the purpose of your money? What kind of lifestyle do you envision? The size of your goal will obviously influence your investment strategy. For example, assume you're saving for retirement, which is a sizable goal. You'll likely need to grow your money over a long period of time to reach your objective. So, you may need to take on some risk to get your desired level of return. However, assume you're saving for a down payment for a home purchase. In this case, growing your money may not be as important as simply protecting it while trying to seek out a small rate of return. An account or asset with little to no risk could be more appropriate for a goal of that size. Now that we've looked at goals, let's discuss the impact that time horizon can have when looking at risk tolerance. When will you actually need to use your savings? The amount of time that you have until you need to use your assets is known as your time horizon. The longer your time horizon, the more tolerance you may have for risk. Let's assume that you intend to retire in 5 years. You may not have that much tolerance for market loss. If the market has a steep decline, you don't always have time to wait it out for market recovery. And on the other hand, assume you aren't retiring for 20 years. If the market declines, you obviously have plenty of time for it to recover. So, it may make sense to take on greater risk exposure in the pursuit of higher returns and ultimately a bigger nest egg. Next, let's look at age. When figuring out the appropriate risk tolerance, it's extremely important to consider your age when it comes to saving and investing. The main difference between aggressive and conservative portfolios typically comes down to the balance between stocks and bonds. And generally, the younger you are, the more risk you can afford to take. Over time, stocks often pose more risk than other investments like bonds, but have the potential for bigger returns over the long haul. When we're younger and the market experiences significant corrections or crashes, we often have time for it to come back. But as we get older and those major financial events happen later in life, they could adversely affect even the best laid out retirement plans. As you head into retirement, your main earning years will be behind you. While preserving your money as you get older is certainly an important objective, it's equally vital to keep your money working for you with the goal of reasonable growth over time, but attempting to do so without taking on too much investment risk. So as you can see, there are many factors that make up someone's risk tolerance, and I've only covered the basics. So what's your risk tolerance? Conservative, moderate, aggressive, somewhere in between? Understanding your risk tolerance is very important when it comes to allocating and diversifying your investments. So here are some things to think about. How do you usually feel after making an investment? Are you unsettled and you just think about the potential loss? Do you feel content and consider both potential gain and potential loss? Or are you optimistic and excited and focused on the thrill of the game? How does your household income, like employment, Social Security, and a pension, compare to your monthly expenses? Do your expenses exceed your income? Are they even? Or are you ahead of the game every month? Imagine if the overall market had a 25% loss in value, and as a result, your portfolio was down 25% as well. What would you do? Would you immediately move your assets into a more protected strategy, wait for the market to recover, or use the discounted prices as a buying opportunity? When you start withdrawing funds from your portfolio, how long do you expect your money to last in retirement? The bottom line, some people are just naturally more comfortable with risk than others, and that's totally okay. Each person is different, and there's no cookie-cutter approach on how much risk is appropriate. In my opinion, your goals, time horizon, and age are just the tip of the iceberg in better understanding your risk tolerance. If you have questions like the ones I asked previously, a financial professional should be able to walk you through a risk assessment, and they should also be able to help you determine how much risk is appropriate for you.